This is Lady T, and you're listening to Tea Time Thursdays with me on PositivePower21.org. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me this evening. I am your host for the evening, Lady T. Today's guest is Aria-Craig, who is a well-known published author, certified coach, public speaker, entrepreneur, wife, mother. That just is the top of the iceberg for this classy lady. Welcome, Miss Craig. It's a pleasure to have you here on Positive Power today. 21, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm doing great. Thank you so very much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. You have come so far in what it is that you have accomplished, tried to accomplish, and are in the process of accomplishing. You were born and raised in Chicago. Can tell us a little bit about your upbringing and what it was like to be brought up in Chi-Town?
Sure. I was actually brought up in a south suburb of Chicago named Harvey, Illinois, which is probably about 30 miles or less, 25 miles south of Chicago. I was raised by a single mother with three children by three different fathers. So I was the middle child, and I didn't have any engagement with my dad until maybe about 4 or 5 years ago when my sister on my father's side looked me up on Facebook.
Wow.
So, and I have a story about that. If we have no time, I can get into that also. But raised by my mom, like I said, three different fathers between my siblings and I, and we lived in a household with my grandparents. So I have a lot of old school upbringing, like saying excuse me and not walking on the sidewalks when someone laughed when they took the time.
Right.
Yes, very old school mentality. I had kind of a rocky relationship with my mom, though, however, because, by being a middle child, I don't get a lot of attention, so I had to very early learn how to make decisions growing up in my life, and not having a father means I made some choices very young growing up when it came to men.
Right.
I was also bullied in the South in my junior year in high school. Sorry, not junior year, in junior high. From junior high through high school, I suffered from bullying, which I also speak about in my book.
Right. I was definitely going to touch on that, later on in the interview, because I want to know, being bullied is something that is growing these days, and it's like it's not like it came out of nowhere, but it snuck up on everybody, and now it's like one of the most, it's kind of like a hate crime. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like it's something that definitely affects you, especially your upbringing. What could they bully? I mean, what would they bully you about? And how did it affect you?
Well, I went through a state of depression, and, in the African-American community, we don't really talk about depression. We don't research it to understand what it is and how it affects us and our loved ones and how we engage with other folks. So back in this time, you're talking about junior year in high school, I was like the subject in the butt of all jokes in the classroom. So what my mother did was she told me, just ignore them. That was the common response for all children that went through that. Just ignore them, and, they'll stop, they'll go away, whatever the case may be. But no, I suffered through that every day, and I had to find inner strength to deal with that on a regular basis and still be strong to come in the next day and face it again.
Absolutely. I understand because I went through the same thing, like with the whole bullying and the, being ostracized and, just coming out of nowhere. Nobody knows where you came from, and then they got things to say. And you haven't made friends yet, so you don't have anybody to turn to. Or, I feel you on that. But as a young woman growing up, I know not having a father in the home had to affect you in a certain type of way, dealing with men and your mother being a single mother and you not having anybody to really look up to in that fashion. what is it that happened to you that kind of turned your life around for, let's just say, for the better?
Well, I have to say, it all goes back to the bullying. When I was probably about, I want to say 10 years old, my situation was I had a really bad overbite. So I was made the butt of all jokes called bucktooth beaver and all kinds of other jokes. So as I got older and I got braces, things started to change. I started getting attention. I started having trying to talk to me as a young adult. So I had to find a balance between never having attention and then having all the attention. So how do you balance between not being, having low self-esteem to having very high self-esteem and being conceited?
Right. Absolutely.
I had to find that balance. So I think a lot of it had to do with, like I said, having that balance. And then once I had my son, understanding what I wanted for him in this world, in his journey through life, that I didn't get a chance to experience when I was growing up.
Boom. That's what I wanted you to say, that precious little bundle of joy you had. Now, I read your bio, and you know what? I could feel you smile through your bio talking about him. I could feel you just skipping around, just with the words that you use. I could just feel it. I kind of got a little bit chill bumps. But you were young. Yeah, you were young when you had him. Also in your mid-20s, kind of, right? Did you kind of feel like maybe you were following in your mother's footsteps, or did you feel like this was your change in path and direction? This was your new beginning? What is it? How did you feel about that at that point in time?
You know what? You are absolutely 100% spot on. When I became pregnant, my grandfather was very disappointed, and I was very close to my grandfather. He said, "You know what? You're going to end up just like your mother." And that did it. I told him, no, I will not. I'm going to persevere. I have goals, and I'm going to achieve every last one of those goals and set new goals. So I had to show him better than I could, better than I can tell him. So one of my goals was when I was pregnant and I found out I was pregnant, I vowed to myself, I am going to raise this child the best of my ability as his steward, as his mother, as a person who is going to direct and guide him, and I want everybody who he comes across to see his integrity, his character, his personality, the type of person that he is, and the type of woman that raised him.
Girl, listen to you. Listen to all that strength talking about her baby. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful. And, at such a young age, dealing with low self-esteem, little guidance on your future, your goals, your father not being there, not having many role models, emotional and psychological trials and tribulations. Not to just add on to all that wasn't enough, is that, you were also, and that was enough. Me just saying that chokes me up, but you were also molested. It's kind of like you sit back and you're just like, when does it end? Where does it stop? How did you even begin to turn all those negatives into a positive?
At the point where I learned what self-esteem was, and I increased my self-esteem, and I really got into understanding self-worth and self-love, and that was probably near the end of me graduating from high school and starting college. That's how things turned around for me and my new perspective of life as an adult, and how I wanted to live my life as an adult, not allowing my past and my history to dictate my future.
Yeah, but kind of by being molested as a young woman, did you have anyone to talk to turn to get advice from, anyone to confide in, anybody to tell, anybody that would listen?
Wow. And this is what I spoke about yesterday on Jerry's show. I went through that time that I was being bullied in junior high. I had low self-esteem, and I was vulnerable. And I think that the person who did this to me since that, knowing that I was vulnerable and, I was slim pickings for him, which is normally how predators look at when they try to find children to do this to. They find someone who is vulnerable and not strong and that's not going to fight back. So I didn't know, not having the conversation, what I was supposed to do when it happened because, your predators will tell you, don't tell anybody this happens or even threaten you. So growing up, I kept it to myself. I saw there was a schoolhouse rock, kind of a school special that came on about a child who was being molested by a family friend who lived not far from their home. And the message at the end was to have a password or some type of passcode in your family to where if this happens to that child can come to that parent or someone that they trust, say the password, and that parent or that person who is a trusted adult person can have a conversation with them to figure out what is going on and what happened. And that's what I talk about in the book. Establish a password in your family to where if it's ever the case where your child is touched inappropriately and they were threatened, they can have that password and come to you because you've already had that conversation with them. Tell me when this happens. If this ever happens to you, I want to know. Give me the password. We'll go off to the corner. We'll discuss, and I'll take care of it from there. And I've established that also with my son. So as I got older and things that happen that are so traumatic, sometimes they're put on the back burner. And as you go through life, some kind of way, they resurface. And it did resurface right before I got married, and I went to a therapist. I went to a therapist, and I talked to her, and I told her the only person that I told this to was, I didn't even tell her. I wrote it in a letter to my mother. And I was about 14 years old, and I was molested when I was about 8. And I didn't know how to say it, so I communicated through writing it. And she did read it, and I did ask her, did she read it that day that I wrote it to her? She said yes, but she never did anything about it. As a matter of fact, this was a person who I fellowship with at church. And even on Sunday, she would still shake his hand, give him a hug, and it was like nothing happened. So when a couple of years before I got married, and I talked to the therapist, she said, you need to approach this person. You need to, because it was affecting me, and it resurfaced to where I could not have engage in certain types of affection with my husband. So she said, you need to have the discussion. It's time for you to have the talk with a predator. So I met up with him, and I talked. My husband was with me, and I talked to him about it. I didn't get the apology that I was looking for because it was the response that I got was if I did, and I don't remember doing it. I was prepared and knowing that that's probably the best it was going to get. I just needed to voice it and to let him know I remember. I never forgot. I'm almost 40 years old, but I remember.
Absolutely.
So that's what helped me.
I feel you. Did that, because I went through the same type of thing, and I'm sitting here in awe because I did the letter too. I did the letter, and I know where I put it. I know what I wrote, and then the same type of thing happened. It was not acknowledged. Nobody said anything. So I didn't know. It didn't come out till later on in my 20s. So with you, was that the first time that it actually came out? Was to your therapist as the first person you were able to tell about that ever?
No.
I mean, besides your mom, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up. Besides your mom, but, did it open up anywhere else?
Ironically, I spoke to two people who I cared very deeply about, who I was dating at the time. I talked to them about it. One person who I dated in my early 20s, another person who I dated in my late 20s, and was very, very close to them. I talked to them about what I had gone through. The person who my husband, before I got married, he was the one that encouraged me and supported me to take action.
Oh,
so they listened and they felt for me, but I didn't actually take action until my husband was like, oh, no, we got to do something about this. I'm about to marry you. I'm about to marry you. It's an issue. I want to be able to embrace you like a husband should, and so we need to go through this together and get this fixed, get this resolved so we can move forward. And ironically, even more so, as I stated yesterday on the show, the person who I didn't have as much of an issue addressing it with the predator, I still never addressed it with my mother. That was the hurtful part, was how do I talk to my mother about why didn't you do anything about it? And my mom passed away in January of 2012, and I never, ever came to her to discuss with her, why did you never Why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you think? Why didn't you protect me?
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry.
So I carried that, but I forgive.
Yeah. In some element, some way there. So do you feel like you got some type of closure, or do you feel like it's still kind of open?
No, I got closure because when I spoke with him, I had to prepare myself for the worst case scenario with his response.
Right.
So it was going to be either he'll say, no, I didn't do it, you had the wrong person, or, or try to deny it, or he would say, I'm sorry. One of the two. He actually gave me both, which I was not prepared for. He said, I don't remember, but if I did, I apologize. I knew that was as good as it was going to get. My husband was not, he was not satisfied.
Okay, no, right.
That's not a sincere apology. But I told him at this point, with it being so long and me actually confronting him about it now, this is probably as best as it's going to get. So I am able to move forward. So I hope you as my husband can accept that I am.
Right. Well, it's amazing that you had him to lean on, that he gave you the strength and stood by your side and didn't judge, you know what I'm saying, and was able to let you step forward and actually confront your abuser and what he did to you. Even though he didn't give you what he should have gave you, he innately, I feel like, knows what he did, and you know what he did, and the man above knows what he did. So, at the end of the day, he's the one that has to, to come to, some type of sound mind and be able to forgive himself for his part in it, and to also take it further and forgive himself for not giving you what it is he knows you probably needed but was not man enough to acknowledge. So for you to move on, let me just say you're very courageous. That strength has to come from deep within, and it's a beautiful thing that you were able to, let go, let God, and then turn that negative into such a positive, because you wrote a 3-part empowerment series called The Single Mother Diaries, which gives advice for single, divorce, co-parenting, and blended families. And it gives them improving parenting skills and being able to be, in the know of this day and age on how to live and work in corporate America. And it helps with healthy relationships with your significant others. I just read a brief synopsis of the 3-part series, and I know it gets even bigger. So go ahead and tell us more about just the intricacies of the book, the details about it, not without giving away all the goodies. I got that. Yeah, because they got to download it and buy it, right, Mama? I'm not trying to give it all away. Just some little tidbits, because I couldn't stop reading. I was like, where is it? Where is it?
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate the compliment. It's a 3-part series. I'm working on Volume 2 now to be released in spring of 2016. And the second volume is on being business savvy in corporate America and as an entrepreneur. And the 3rd part is on finding love, which ironically everybody wants me to do the 3rd part second.
Right. Okay. So right.
The first one is on tips on parenting. I did it in that order because as a single or divorced parent, you are the leader in your household. You are the one that is providing. So you have to be the parent, and you have the job that's taking care of, or the career that is taking care of your household before you get to the stage where you have that significant other. So that's why I have it in that order. For the first part with the tips and wisdom on being a fabulous and successful single mother, it's more of an empowerment and investment tool on raising your child with empowerment, encouragement, teaching leadership strategies and abilities in your child, encouraging their talents, which a lot of times we don't do. We're so busy harping and hollering and fussing at our children when they do wrong instead of acknowledging the great things that they do and their talents, whatever their gifts and their talents are. we have our own ideas and conceptions of what we feel success is, but your child might not want to go in that direction. They might want to be an entrepreneur. They might not want to go and get a master's degree in psychology or engineering. They might want to go off and be an electrician.
Exactly.
So if you want to, and to be honest with you, I talk about this in the book. If you pay close attention to your child, you will see their talents early. You don't have to guess.
Right.
Get early, so as they become older, when they're going through elementary school and when they're going through junior high school, by the time they are a freshman in high school, you are encouraging the direction and the classes that they need to take in order to meet those requirements. So by the time they go off to college, they already know the direction for their future.
Right, so it's kind of like you're helping them hone their craft by that time. If you're really in the know, right, and you're really hands-on with your children, you watch what they like, you watch what they don't like, what they pick up, what they put down, and the one thing that clicks with them, you hone their craft or their crafts. Because, children these days, they soak everything up like sponges. So they can have their hands in almost everything. When I read about your son, it was so adorable. It was a valedictorian in kindergarten. Are you joking? Class president. In the 5th grade, volunteering into communities and receiving leadership awards, and he was at youth church conferences. So, oh my gosh, he sounds just like a little man, but it's just he's got that old school value that you have instilled in him, and it's just like walking in his mama's footsteps.
Oh,
absolutely. When I read, I said valedictorian in kindergarten. You go. I was like, she is really one that turned everything around completely, just to show people that regardless of what it is or what it was, that you were going to put that foot forward, and you were going to show them, and you were going to let your grandfather know, more than you can tell him, you're going to show him. So, because old school people, they don't want to hear you, all that talking, yap, 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 yap. Show me. Show me that degree. Show me that GED. Show me those courses. Show me those classes. You can't really just talk about it. You got to be about it. You did that, and then you took it a step further, and you put everything that you had into that little bundle of joy. Yeah. Now, isn't that amazing? Aren't you a proud mama, as you should be?
I am. Thank you.
Absolutely. We are going to take a quick break with my girl Keisha Dream and Survivor, and then we are going to come back and touch a little bit on some other things that she's got to share. Miss Craig, Miss Woman of the Year. Y'all better watch out, because she is a force to be reckoned with, Mama.
Thank you.
Because you are a survivor, so this is for you.
The test, and I came to the one, 'cause you are the best. Betrayal was sad, it came from my chest, and the tears from my eyes, but nevertheless, they said that they loved me, but want me to fall. In your presence is where I would go. You hit me all in all. I love them, and you tell me how.
Hey, not so ridiculous, but what God did magnificent. Pressing sure to make you more. Took my life and he gave it to her. Blessed so great to make it for. Time and time I got it for. Winning souls what I'm aiming for. That's what I want to be famous for.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. You took away my scars. My God, you washed for me. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. You cannot see my love. My God, you took for me. I'm a survivor.
took ridiculous, but what God did magnificent. Pressing sure to make you burn. Took my life and it gave a cure. Blessed so great and I make you slur. Time and time I got it, sir. Winning souls what I'm aiming for. That's what I want to be famous. Yeah.
I'm a survivor. You took away my scars. My God, you washed from me. I'm a survivor. You took it. You cannot see my scars. My God, you took your me. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. You took away my scars. My God, you washed from me. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. You cannot see my scars. My God, you took your me. PositivePower21.org Internet Radio.
You are listening to PositivePower21.org with Jerry Royce.
Hey everyone, don't forget about Tea Time Thursdays with Jerry Royce live worldwide on PositivePower21.org. Hi everyone, that was Keisha Dreams with I'm a Survivor, and let me just say, our guest today is, she is definitely that and then some, and a bag of chips, you guys. Like, she is a survivor that has overcome many obstacles, trials, tribulations, loss of a parent, you know, being bullied, you know, being molested, just, you know, many of the facets that she has overcome. But as a young child growing up, she had to kind of find her own way and her own coping mechanisms and her own skill sets to get to where she is right now in life. Miss Craig, Aria-Craig, that is, you know, it's, you know, that song, I'm a Survivor, you know, that was apropos for you. And is that how you see yourself? Because that is what you are. That is what you just in how you talk and the things that you said and just what I've read, it exudes from how you talk. It exudes from your pores that you did not let this take you down. How do you see yourself?
Oh, thank you. I do see myself as a survivor. It took a while.
Mm-hmm.
It took a while, but I see myself as a survivor, but I also am anchored in the Lord. So I am grateful to God for everything that I went through. It has been an incredible journey. So I am able to take new heights and go in different directions and also talk to and coach other people who have possibly gone through anything similar to what I have gone through and let them know, hey, there is empowerment on the other side. You have to grab it and have a different state of mind. Don't let it overcome you, but be empowered to move forward. And forgiving is a powerful tool all in itself in learning how to be empowered to move forward.
Yeah, that's that word, empowerment is very empowering. So, you know, and you brought in the word forgiveness. Now, you know, that's hard for a lot of people to do, especially with, just some of the things that you've been through, to it's not that you forgot, but you forgave. and forgiving is not forgetting. So people have to understand that just because you forgive somebody, that doesn't mean you forgot what happened. It doesn't mean it still doesn't affect you or has infected you in some type of way, facet, or form, but it is something that needs to be done because you can't move on unless you are able to forgive. But it's not forgiving that, it's forgiving them for what they did, but it's also forgiving yourself because of what it is that's taking a toll on yourself. Am I right? Kind of. That's kind of how I've taken it. I can't say that, I'm fully to that point. I'm a work in progress all day, every day, and I'm trying and I'm working, and, I have my skill sets, and I have the tools that I need to help me get through day-to-day life challenges. So with you being, a single mother, what is it that you feel like you've instilled most in, your bundle of joy, your pride and glory, your valedictorian, your beautiful boy? What is it that you feel like you've instilled in him that will make him be able to get through the trials and tribulations of life and that not that you had, because they will be vastly different, but that he can, kind of maneuver around, because your strength is amazing. You can hear it. So I know his strength is there. But tell me, what type of skill sets have you helped him with so that he could get through those challenges?
Well, first of all, I taught him to understand God and have a relationship with him, an ongoing, developing relationship with God. And that's something that's incredibly important, because when he leaves from out of my presence and he is an adult and he goes off into the world, I can't be there with him in everything that he has to tackle. So that has to be established early, and understanding how God works and building that foundation, planting that seed. I instilled in him from there certain characteristics like honesty, which, nobody is 100% honest all the time. As a teenager, I've already caught him on a couple of things.
Absolutely, right.
So, but also leadership is very, very important to me. Leadership and self-love is very important to me, because self-love branches off into other things. The leadership is very important because from going back to where he was, he was a crowned class student council, the class president. We just moved to this neighborhood, and he started there in the third grade, halfway through the year, and he was able to make friends with people so strong and those connections so strong that by the fifth grade, he was voted as student council and hadn't been there for a year and a half.
Oh, adorable.
Wow. He hadn't been there for a year and a half. So I instilled in him integrity, certain things he just won't do. Leadership, again, I have to really stress on that, because I tell him God gave you a brain, so he expects you to use that brain. Everybody's brain and their journey through life is individualized. Your journey is not going to be somebody else's journey. You can't follow and do what other people do, but in order for you to be a leader, you got to have followers. So you don't do what other people do.
Right.
You do what you are called to do.
Right.
And when you do what you're called to do and be that example, other people are going to then follow your lead.
Yeah, and he, with you not having a father growing up and in the home, somebody to look up to, who is it that gives him, because, I know that there are, people have their roles in a relationship. Does he have somebody to look up to that can give him the things that a mother can, but only a father can? Because there's some things that a woman can't do for a younger boy and instill in him that a man needs to do to make him that young man to grow up to be that manly man, to be able to be that father.
That's right. He has his dad. His dad has been in his life since he was born. So I co-parent with his father. Now, his father and I, our relationship is very, very is different. It's strained. But I always support and encourage and acknowledge how well he does as a father, despite what we go through on the back end that I do not allow my son to see because it's not for him to see. It's for his dad and I to work out as parents. He never has to see that.
Right.
So and then also I'm married. So my husband is a role model. I do encourage. Yeah, my husband, actually, I met my husband. My son was in Little League, and that's how I met my husband, because he's a Little League coach, and he was also a Boy Scout leader. So that's how I met my husband.
That's great. That's great. So it's kind of like you broke the chain. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You were not going to let the same thing happen to you that and have it trickle down, to your son. And you broke that, and you have a man in his life, and he does have people to talk to, and he has that outlet. So, that's a beautiful thing, because at this point in time, I feel like, and I know I say it in every single show, and it doesn't matter to me, but, I'm going to say it again. I feel like that, there is, a yearning for our young black youth, for especially our men, because, there is a stigma attached to them. And, with everything going on, that it is hard for them to have some type of outlet or mentors or people to be able to talk to, because it's not easy for men to embrace their feelings and to be able to come out and say what they need to say on a real tip, not be, and be able to, just say what they say and not be so scared that, what happens to something like me and you, that it gets swept under the carpet. So, so it starts at home, and you definitely have changed that, and you instilled in him that, that it doesn't have to be like that. And what I went through, you don't have to go through. So, that's a blessing within itself. You work with, at this point in time, you're still doing other things and branching out, and you're working in the community, working with young teens, young women. Tell us a little bit about that and your workshops that you are doing right now.
Well, I'm trying to get the workshops into middle and high schools and possibly even colleges to really stress, again, self-image, self-love, self-respect. It starts there, because some teens don't understand. They don't know it. They don't know what. They haven't learned it. They haven't experienced it in the home. Their parents haven't been engaged in teaching that and empowering them to understand what that is. So I really want to work with teens to understand also bullying too, but self-image, self-respect, talking about sex also, because a lot of times when you talk to teenagers, the girls and also the boys they're more afraid of pregnancies and being teen parents than they are of diseases.
Right. And that's kind of a backwards way of looking at things, but they're teens, so they're not going to know any better. And unless they see it, how do you know how to, unless they really walk that path, seen it with their own eyes, they're not going to know anything but what they're taught or what they see on TV or what they see that's not a great impression, but it's still an impression. So, with you doing your workshops, is that one of your ways of, you feel like that you're giving back, regardless of how many other things that I've listed off, you're giving back in so many other ways. Is that one of your plights, one of your causes?
Yes. It's so much out here that teens need to be. It's like they need someone to talk to. They can't always go to their parents, so they need like a middle person that they can talk to about what they're experiencing, even their hopes and dreams and their goals. Because even parents don't acknowledge that. And children don't even know how to go to them and talk to them about my hopes and dreams. I'm so busy getting beat up on, and not really, literally, but, snapped on about my grades. Sometimes you need to understand, why is this child getting this grade? Is there too much on his plate? Is he stressed out about something? Let's reassess this and let's have a discussion instead of, why did you get this D in class, and putting it on punishment and all that. Sometimes you got to go
more than that, right?
Explore. People, our parents need to be involved with talking and discussing things, discussing grades and interaction with our children, with the students, and in class. Just a really quick story. My son was struggling, and he had all honors classes coming into high school. So he was struggling with honors biology. Everything else he was doing well in, but this class it just really was a challenge for him. So I talked to the teacher. Now, the conversation that I'd already met her, but I talked to her around the third quarter, and I had a discussion with her at the very beginning before class started. By the time my son came into the class, she had everyone else in his class working on an assignment while she stood out in the hallway during that whole period to say, I talked to your mother, and this is what we agreed to. Because I told her I have expectations of him just like you have expectations of him. Somewhere there's a disconnect. So I'm talking to you from a mother to a teacher. How can we get on the same wavelength?
Page.
So
right.
She saw that I had an interest, and I cared about my son because I see how he was struggling in class. I saw how he was wanting to do well, but there was a disconnect. And I don't know what it was about that conversation, and maybe because I was a concerned parent and wanted to close that gap and build that bridge, that she felt the need to have that discussion with him in the hallway while everybody else had some type of pre-assigned plan that they were doing in their classroom. She took a special interest in him because I took the initiative to call her to say, let's work together to close this gap.
Right, because you were hands-on and you went the extra mile, because sometimes that's all it takes is an extra phone call or you going up there and having a parent-teacher conference and you sitting down and you guys putting a plan together and maybe looking at where, the difficulty started, where it's at now, and how we can get a solution to this problem. Because you, within yourself, know that he's trying. You're watching him try. You're helping him, but there's still a little gap there. So by you going that extra mile probably showed her that, hey, because not every parent is like you. Not every parent, is hands-on. And that's where I think that we are, losing our ground because we're getting so caught up in everything that's around us that, our future generation is getting also lost in, and not found. So it's kind of like, I hope that parents out there that are listening and that are paying attention to this podcast, are really listening to Miss Craig here, because she is really, hands-on, and she has so many different facets about her that you guys really need to check out her website page, aria-craig.com. Is there anyone that you would like to take the time out to, say hi to, any organizations that you're supporting their vision at this time that's helped you get to where you are today, that you just want to say hi to? And you can shout out to your son so he can listen, say, that's my mama, that's my mama.
My son's nickname is Scooter, so hey, Scooter. Hey, Scooter.
Oh, my gosh.
I have been working. Actually, I just left a networking event right before I logged into the call. One of the ladies there, she is part of a Glow International Single Moms group. So they're having a big event in November, a conference where they're having all their chapters from across the world come in. So I want to say thank you to Louise Dawkins, because she's been incredibly supportive of this ministry, this initiative that I'm working on. I've been flying here and there, and just came back from Memphis, Tennessee. And when I told them what the book was about, I had all but 3 books to fly off of my booth. As a matter of fact, my son, because my son is he's like really mature. So when they're talking to him, I had one lady when he was speaking to her, I didn't even tell her what the book was about. She went on Amazon right in front of me and got the ebook.
Oh, okay. I mean, because really, like, you have so many different things. Woo! You got so many things that you're working on at this point in time. I'm tired for you, and I ain't doing nothing. I'm tired for you. I ain't doing nothing. I want to talk to you briefly about, you said that, you just met your father, and, and it was off of Facebook, which is, to me, really impersonal, but, it has bridged the gaps in a lot of different elements in people's lives that have helped them. So was it something that was an experience for you that put a closure to that chapter that was, less open? Because sometimes, people leave you with open wounds that you're not able to, bandage up, and they just fester and fester. Was that a good experience, or were you able to, keep it moving?
I was, okay. I had written him off, to be honest with you. My sister got in contact with me, and through that engagement opened up the doors for me to have the communication with him. I was able to forgive him. My family came over here one Christmas, and they came because he's from a different state. He lives in Colorado. So he came up here a few times, and one time it was just he and his wife. They came, and I told him, she was apologizing and telling me, well, this is what happened and that's what happened. So I listened, out of respect. That's my stepmother. When she was done, I looked at him and I said, now I want to hear from you. So he fidgeting. He was apologizing. It was very quick, but I understood that there was a discomfort for him. I know that he really was apologetic, but that was not going to erase all of the years of what my mom had to do single-handedly. So I told him I really wanted to hear from him because that made more the difference than anything in the world, hearing him say, I'm sorry. So he did apologize. We were able to mend. I told him, I did make some bad choices growing up when it came to men. Choices that a few of them I regret, some of them I don't, because they shaped me into a better person just from the experience that I learned from making those poor choices. But I could have chosen better had he been in my life. So I did have the discussion. I even talk about that in the book, how fathers make differences in the lives of their daughters and their sons differently.
Right.
So I told him I do apologize. I do accept his apology, and I want to work towards moving forward because I had written him off, but I didn't want to have that anger in my heart and die with that anger in my heart when I had the opportunity here set before me to make it right. To forgive so we can move forward. So
so that you got, because you kind of got to get out what you needed to say, whether he, he put a stamp on it or not, or whether he was going to move forward with you in your life, or if he was, whatever he was going to do, at least you got out what you needed to say and how you felt over all those years. Okay.
And to be honest with you, he was more uncomfortable, and I think it's still a little awkward for him because he was the one that has some explaining to do. When he dies, he's the one that has to meet God in judgment.
Right.
To answer to why he wasn't there for the first 34, 35 years of my life.
Absolutely. Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. Woo! I mean, you guys, we didn't even have enough time. Like, I got a whole other page and a half of questions and stuff. But, our time, is just about up here on Tea Time Thursdays. And, I know we only just touched on some of the ideas and techniques in your practical, book and your workshops and your entrepreneurship. So I'm pretty sure some of our listeners would like to know how they can obtain a copy. So everybody, if you need to get a pen and a paper, because I'm going to have it repeated, how you can, get this knowledge that she's over here spitting, and all of the ideas that are running around up in her head that she's put on paper to help you with, everyday facets and life skills. So let them know how they can and where they can get your book and what they can do and where they can go to get it on the website.
They can either go to Amazon because the book is there, the soft cover, and also the ebook is available on Amazon. Or they can go to my website, www.aria-craig, that's ARIACRAIG.com, and there is a link that will direct them directly to Amazon to purchase the book.
Great. And her website is absolutely amazing. I mean, I went through it, and I'm still stuck somewhere in her services. I'm trying to read. I'm still stuck in her services. It's very detailed. It has a lot of information, and it has a lot of different, ways of relationships, parenting, careers, your foundation. She's got all this, you guys. I'm trying to tell you, look out for her because she's on and popping. We so much appreciate you, Ms. Craig, for gracing, us as your president, with your president. But, yeah, go ahead, be our next president, because with this little resume you got right here, I would be honored if you were the first female black president to run across that stage. I'll be clapping.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Your journey with us here, and we appreciate your time and your effort and your candidness, and you're open and you're transparent and everything. So everything that you do from here on out, peace and blessings and good luck. And, us here at PositivePower21.org only wish the best for you. Any last words you'd like to lead us out with?
I want to say I appreciate you so very much for having me on your show. I thank you so very much for this experience, and I welcome any feedback that anyone has. This is an investment, and this is a journey, and this is the direction that my ministry is going to go. And I pray that I have a lot of support as we work together. We work together to mend some gaps and build some bridges. That some very much needed bridges in order to have a better future for our children and our parents. Empowerment is all the way, talking about empowerment.
That's right. Well, we appreciate, everything. So everybody, we're going to have to say, peace out from, Hollywood, California. Thank you, everyone, for joining me, Lady T, on Tea Time Thursdays with PositivePower21.org. Please stay blessed, if nothing less. We'll meet back here next Thursday. Until then, smooches and stay well. Thank you for tuning in to my guests and my artists on Tea Time Thursdays on PositivePower21.org.
You've been listening to Tea Time on PositivePower21.org with Jerry Royce Live worldwide. Share this file and tell a friend. And don't forget, we're on demand on PositivePower21.org and Spreaker Radio /PositivePower21.